Hi there, welcome. This is the Kelly's Astrology podcast, where you can find insight, guidance, and understanding through astrology. I'm Kelly, and I'll be your host. Hey there, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Kelly's Astrology podcast. We are coming up on the new moon in Virgo, which is the new moon for the month of August. So I want to talk a little bit about that new moon because there's a couple of really interesting and energizing themes that come forward with this new moon in Virgo. So that's what I'll be talking about today. We'll be talking about the new moon in Virgo, the aspect that is being made to that new moon from an outer planet, and we'll talk a little bit about what the ruler of the new moon in Virgo has to say about this lunation as well. Before we dive into that, I wanted to let you know that one of my favorite timing courses is happening with a live cohort right now. If you are interested in figuring out how to combine transits and secondary progressions, I hope you'll join me for my professional predictions course. We have live Q&As happening throughout the month for this course. So if you are already an intermediate level astrologer and you would like to get better at transits and progressions to really improve your predictive astrology skills, pop over to kellysastrology.com where you can find out more or sign up. Of course, we will leave the direct link in the show notes below for you. All right, team. Well, let's get into taking a look at the new moon in Virgo. So dates and details, degrees at first, of course, as we get started. The new moon is happening at 0 degrees Virgo on Saturday, August 23rd. So new moon in Virgo, Saturday, August 23rd. It's happening within 24 hours of the sun coming in to Virgo. And the new moon at 0 degrees is actually going to be the first in a sequence of 2 new moons in Virgo that we will have in Virgo season 2025. The second new moon in Virgo comes in September, around the 3rd week of September, and it is actually an eclipse. So there'll be more to say on that once we get to September. Suffice it to say, this new moon in August is a regular kind of new moon. It isn't quite close enough to the nodes to be defined as an eclipse in its own right. This new moon is kind of right on that edge of defining an eclipse. So we'll keep this as a regular new moon and keep our attention on the eclipses in September, because this new moon has a lot of stimulating energy to it. It has a little bit of chaos to it. So there is certainly plenty to talk about. The new moon happening at 0 Virgo, of course, draws all of our attention to the Virgo house and the Virgo part of our own charts. And that is a personal area of your life where you are looking for that reset, that jump start, that kind of beginnings or starting over, if you like. So the new moon in Virgo, this is a new moon that definitely invites us into a new relationship with order, with organization, with details, and with efficiency. And typically a new moon in Virgo is a time to establish new routines, new rituals, and new patterns in our lives to kind of get organized, get back on track. However, this new moon at 0 Virgo is making a really strong square aspect to the planet Uranus. And that brings in themes of the unexpected, things being unpredictable. It brings in a quality of chaos. It also highlights the idea of freedom and authenticity. So this new moon in Virgo looks like one thing, but the very strong square to Uranus brings in a bunch of extra, very potent themes that may mean this new moon feels different from what you expect. So the new moon at 0 Virgo is square Uranus, which is at 1 Gemini. And so this is kind of tied to the Sun square Uranus aspect, which technically is at its strongest on the day after the new moon on Sunday, the 24th of August. So this 4th weekend in August, the 23rd, 24th, definitely has a Uranus quality to it. So this is going to be a weekend where there is unexpected developments. Things are going to be surprising. There may be this kind of shock or, oh my goodness, there may be a breakthrough. There may be a shock that is like, wow, I was not expecting that. Whenever we get Uranus in the mix, we also get this restlessness, this kind of boredom with familiarity, this sense of feeling restricted by routine, and this desire to kind of break out or break away, to shake up things in our lives so that they're more interesting or more exciting. And we also get that sense of, I want to be authentic more often. So Sun Uranus, which is tied into this new moon square Uranus, is about awakening to authenticity. So some of the things you might be surprised by as we head into the weekend of August 23, 24 are what you're interested in, what you're done with, what you want to move away from, and what you're really curious about that you want to move towards. And so with the new moon square Uranus and that sun square Uranus energy, technically it's two different things. The new moon happens when the moon comes to conjunct the sun. It's happening at 0 Virgo. And it just so happens that that is in a very close square to Uranus, which is at 1 Gemini. And the day after the new moon, the sun itself comes to 1 Virgo and makes that exact aspect to Uranus. So we kind of get the Uranus square baked in to the chart of the new moon, and it gets reiterated the day after the new moon as well. Now, keep in mind, this new moon sets the signature for the following 2 weeks. So the 2 weeks starting August 23 is full of Uranus signatures, the unexpected, themes of breakthrough, but also that idea of awakening to authenticity. How can I learn about how to be more true to myself, even if that means surprising those around me or making choices that are different from what I've made in the past, or making choices that are unexpected based on what people are, thinking I would do. So breaking out of old habits, pattern breaking is something we could think about for this new moon in Virgo square Uranus. Now, a new moon in Virgo, it is ruled by Mercury, so it has this very intellectual, analytical quality. And with that square to Uranus, one of the areas in our lives or in our personal experience where we may be going through this kind of radical updating and change process is around our thinking, our mindset, our sense of what possibilities do and don't exist for us. Many of us have these thoughts that kind of tell us this is possible and that's not possible. And a new moon in a Mercury-ruled sign, square Uranus, which is in another Mercury-ruled sign, there's a lot here about kind of breaking open our mindset and our perspective so that we start to consider things that we never thought were possible for us. So wild ideas, kind of radical shifts mentally in terms of, I never thought that was an option, or I thought that was an option, but decades down the track. And now we're starting to realize some of those very authentic, freeing choices might be closer than we realize. And then the kind of question we're left to ponder is, are we willing to take the risk? So with the new moon square Uranus, there is an invitation to make risky or unexpected moves, to accelerate a process of making life more reflective of your true individuality. So breaking away from cultural patterning, breaking traditions, breaking patterns or behaviors that are really entrenched within you. If there's a part of your life that you're bored by, that is frustrating you, that you feel restricted by, this new moon in Virgo square Uranus may be just what you're looking for to shake things up, to try a different approach. There is an experimental quality with the new moon in Virgo square Uranus. I've never tried it like this before, but let's give it a shot and see what happens. There's a saying that comes to mind: if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And another saying that I may have shared on the podcast before: what got you here won't get you there. And so the idea here is, if you want different outcomes, if you want to go in a different direction, if you want a relationship to be more fulfilling, if you want career to be more exciting, if you want your family relationships to be different from what they are, you're going to have to try acting in those situations in a way that's different from what you've done before. And so that is my kind of prompt to you all under this new moon in Virgo. Where in your life are you willing to do something differently than what you've done before? Where in your life are you willing to speak your truth? Are you willing to be authentic, even if that is surprising or a little shocking to those around you? The more that we dare, the more we kind of enliven and energize and activate our charts and lives. So new moon in Virgo is not the kind of sort of practical, grounded new moon we might expect from Virgo because of this square to Uranus. So we know there's going to be lots of unexpected developments, lots of last minute changes to plans and ideas and schedules, but we're being freed up by things breaking open and changing. So this new moon in Virgo square Uranus is a real invitation to operate from a more spontaneous, spur of the moment perspective. You might, decide at the last minute that you're going to do something, that you're not going to do something, that you're going to extend an invitation. Give yourself some room to breathe and some room to move so that you can be a little more instinctive as the mood catches you. Being spontaneous is a great way to respond to strong Uranus energy, as is being flexible. And keep in mind that this new moon is in a mutable sign. Virgo is one of our 4 mutable signs. All mutable signs are associated with movement, with things being in flux or in states of change. And so with this new moon in Virgo, already oriented toward flux and change and adaptation because it's a mutable sign, and now square Uranus, which we know is the big change agent and change bringer in astrology, this new moon in Virgo feels like it is going to get things moving. Whether there's been a part of life that feels stagnant or has just been kind of running on repeat, a bit feeling like Groundhog Day, now the new moon comes into a mutable sign, it squares Uranus, things are moving. In fact, so much is moving all at once that you might have trouble keeping track of everything. So there's a lot of moving parts, and that idea of being flexible and adaptable, giving yourself breathing room as we know things are going to change on the fly. When we're forced to kind of make choices in a faster paced environment, what that does is it helps kind of cut out that overly analytical part of our mind, and it allows us to be a little more instinctive, which often leads to more authentic choices. So if everything is happening all at once this weekend under that new moon in Virgo square Uranus, at least you will be kind of given space just to choose authentically, very genuinely, and in the way that is the most freeing, interesting, and exciting for you. I mentioned this new moon in Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and I think it's worth mentioning or at least briefly considering Mercury's condition or state as we come to this new moon in Virgo. So at the time of the new moon, Mercury is in Leo. It's around 12 degrees of Leo. Now, Mercury is about 10 days after its station direct, so after ending its retrograde. Mercury is still not back up to full speed, but Mercury is certainly in refocus and move forward mode. And so the idea of this new moon in Virgo being ruled by a planet that is just coming out of that retrograde space, Mercury is in recovery. It is in a reorganizational kind of phase where it's like, right, let's get back on track, but with updates and improvements. And so this idea of moving forward with a bit of a changed or evolved focus and plan is kind of reflected in Mercury's place post-retrograde as it rules this new moon in Virgo. So the idea with the new moon in Virgo is you might have already had a plan, but it's time to change it, to tweak it, and to make it either more flexible or more authentic. And Mercury in Leo might help you say out loud some of those thoughts or ideas that you have been ruminating on or researching over the past few weeks while Mercury was retrograde. So Mercury is direct, it's moving forward, it's around 12 Leo at the time of the new moon. Mercury is just coming off a series of aspects, very unusual, unique aspects to Mars in Libra. So Mercury has made a bunch of decisions. Mercury's had some lessons in choosing for itself. And so as we come into this new moon in Virgo, that idea of asking for what you want and daring to be as true to your core self as you can flows through into this new moon. Now, the position of the ruler of the new moon relative to the new moon, Mercury is in Leo, the sign behind Virgo, where the new moon is taking place. And so Mercury would be in the 12th position relative to the new moon. So like the 12th house position relative to the new moon in Virgo. And that does evoke some mystical, spiritual topics and themes. It can reinforce that instinctive, like trusting your instinct, trusting your intuition component. It can also highlight that settings that are of a 12th house nature. So being on retreat, being away from your regular routines and responsibilities, like taking a break, having a rest, maybe being isolated or taking some time apart. These may be relevant as we're navigating all of these kind of overstimulating, overactive new moon in Virgo square Uranus qualities. So there are lots of ways to look at a new moon, to think about the energy of the new moon. Of course, there are always so many aspects going on, but this new moon really caught my attention, especially because of that square to Uranus and that quality of movement, mutability, and flux that comes through on repeated levels here. The new moon is in a Mercury-ruled sign, it's in a mutable sign, and it is square Uranus, which we know loves to create change and keep things moving. So the new moon is a moment of reset. It represents a beginning. It's like a springtime energy. Uranus is definitely activating and stimulating. So this new moon feels like it's bringing warmth to get things going. And that Mercury placement in Leo in the 12th position relative to the new moon, some quiet reflection will help you be really in tune to yourself so that you can, go as quickly as you can when things start changing. So let me know what it is in your chart and life that this new moon in Virgo is activating. You could think about the topics of the Virgo house in your chart. You could think about the topics of the Gemini house in your chart, because of course the square aspect is tying together the Gemini and Virgo parts of your chart in life, so that you're having to do some negotiation about who and what the needs of the Gemini part of your chart and life are, and what the needs are of the people and places associated with the Virgo part of your chart. And you're kind of going back and forward. But what we're looking for is a way forward that's different for both the Gemini and Virgo parts of our chart and life, but that is also more authentic for you. So I hope you have a lot of fun with this new moon in Virgo square Uranus. Let me know how it's showing up for you in the comments below. And if you are interested to dive into some predictive astrology and learn some tips and tricks on how I combine transits and progressions in client work to help them understand their life and timing, I hope to see you inside the Professional Predictions course over the next few weeks. We'll leave the links for all of those below. Until we meet again, take care, everyone.